So we'd like to call our special board meeting to order, and I will try to talk loud enough for you to hear me. I'm required by my work to wear a mask if I'm in a social setting, and we are sitting 6 feet apart. So we're doing like the rest of the world. Mr. Cox, can you call us forward, please?
Yes, we'll call Gibson here, Burchett here, Mulberry here, Childers here, Crowe
Here.
Almonds present.
Before we approved the agenda, was there something that was worded we needed to change?
Yes,
I don't
ma'am.
remember what that was.
And there's there's actually two things. Number 21, and is reducing that from 220 that position from 220 days to 200. That should be 180 days. And Margaret that requested a few minutes ago. And then the other thing is number 2 under the discussion items. Is going to do that to you now. You're there, okay. The item is discuss potential for student fees associated with Chromebooks. Basically, what we're asking to do is to increase the student fees we have in place for grades 4 through 12 by adding a tiered Chromebook fee of $25, $15, and $0 based on household income.
Oh, I'm sorry. 188.
188.
Yep.
188 days.
Thank you, sir.
188. Yes, I'm sorry. I've written down 180. I thought that's what Mark can do. So I just had to do it. Anyway, so the motion to when we get to the point, I can agree with the motion for you to. Basically, that's the explanation for number 2.
All right, then we would need a motion to approve the agenda with the amended language that you've heard. So motion by Garfield and second by Stephen to approve the agenda as we amended for. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. So first thing under the agenda is the employee payroll dates, which I know we always do in order to do the summer.
Right, that except the annual fees that we normally charge for the all transition get in a few minutes. And then those payrolls Rhonda sent those out in your notes and those and then B's for the first reading on the board policies as needed. There will be a few little minor changes, and Todd and I spent some time going over some of those. We ended up needing maybe a bit less even than we thought. But we could acknowledge, I guess, those tonight. Yes. Tonight and approve the second reading. So really, there's not
We can really
not a motion.
talk about that a bit under operations.
Okay.
So, we're going to skip the open comment section since there's no one in here. Unless someone raises their hand, and Casey will recognize that her hand is raised and will tell us there's a comment.
Yeah, I was supposed to say that if there is somebody watching that wants to make a comment, they can make that comment on the sign-in sheet, and this Dave is monitoring that and of course.
We'll get it.
Okay, great, thank you.
That brings us to the minutes and financial management section. We would need a motion approving the last board minutes from May 21st, and that we have received the information on its financial management items taken.
Motion. Sorry.
So motion by Keith and second by Stephen. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next section is the personnel items that have been taken by the superintendent. We just need a motion saying we've received information about these. So motion by Garfield and second by Todd that received information about the personnel items taken by the superintendent. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, then please say aye. Aye. So that does bring us to the operation items, which is a lengthy list, including the policies under number 6. So we'll take just a moment to read through these, see if there's anything we can talk about separately.
On number 18, Mr. Cox, did you make that change on the administrator?
I did. Oh, yeah, and we added, I think it's added number 15, I mean, duties is assigned by. Unless, she's in it. You know, number 17, did you say that's 3 years? Yes. Basically, it's $250,000 divided 3 years, a little $83,000 a year comes out to. So we'll be able to hire two more SROs with that money for 3 years. And Mark's been on a hot streak, by the way. He has. Well, just, off the cuff, we had a major discussion about it because we just got the grant last week, but we had talked about that if we got the grant, what we had thought we'd do 2 at the high school, leave 1 at the middle school, 1 at the elementary, then have to get 1 at the primary. Currently, we have 1 at the high school, we have 1 splitting time between elementary and primary. So we basically have 1 at every school, 2 at the high school. And the good thing about that is that, and because they do have to do quite a bit of training and they get sick like everybody else, if 1's out, we can have 1 out and still have 1 to do it. We just move that extra from high school down somewhere. And we started last year, which we implemented, and I think it was a really good thing. We started for a period of a few weeks each year, just rotating each of them around to a
So they know all the bills.
so they know all the ins and outs of the building. And we've already contacted the city and told them they know that we got the grants for doing that to the hiring process going forward too.
If there's no further discussion or review needed, I would make a motion to approve operation items 1 through 30 with the change to number 21 from 200 days to 100 days.
So we have a motion by Todd and second by Stephen. Any other discussion? All those in favor, then please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. We will do the second reading of office policies and procedures next month. That brings us to the discussion items. First one is approval of the 2020-2021 certified evaluation plan.
There were a few lots of meetings, and I think Cindy's going to check in with us here. Can you hear us, Cindy?
I can, yes. Can you hear me?
You can perfectly.
Okay. So the changes this year to the certified evaluation plan, we did have our 50-50 committee meeting with teachers and administrators in the district. The only requirement to the CEP for changes this year was the addition of the professional standards for educational leaders. That's called PSEL. And so I went in and removed the old standards and updated with the new standards. They went from 6 standards to 10. And then I highlighted on the document for you as we went through for you to be able to see the changes that took place in the document. What I had to do is each administrator is evaluated on planning, environment, instruction, and professionalism. So I had to take the 10 standards and break it up on page 9 to see which standards fell under each of those actual domains. So that's on page 9 for you to be able to see there and highlighted. On page 13 of the document, we did want to make a change for our intern new teachers because KTIP no longer exists, and we have our new teacher mentorship program in the district. So I did make the change to say that we would evaluate all new teachers using the Kentucky framework for teaching, like we do for everyone else, in coordination with our new teacher mentorship that we have here. And then Ms. Crowley had asked the last time we were talking about making updates to the certified evaluation plan during COVID, to add in there that observations could be conducted virtually. And so we went ahead and put that, and we said in the event in-person instruction may not take place, observations may be conducted virtually, especially if all of our teachers are going to have a Google Classroom or Schoology platform. Principals would be able to join those and actually do those observations virtually. So we went ahead and added that to that. And then the only other thing that we did this year is with the addition of the principal standards, the normal form that we had used, the principals would fill out a professional growth template each year. And on that growth template, it had them to put in their growth needs, give you the action plan of what they were working on, and allowed them to do a reflection. But it really had no place for administrators or to go ahead and put in the evaluation portion. So I added a Part D and put evaluation on that, listed all 10 of the standards, and put a place in there for us to score them in effective, developing, accomplished, or exemplary, just like the teachers, and then added a portion for evidence. And that was more just for us to be able to document. No other changes were requested by the 50/50 committee. Teachers were pleased with the evaluation process and the schedule that those take place. The only thing that we did discuss was changing from the K-TIP lesson plan and making a new version of a lesson plan that we would use and administrators would agree on, because the K-TIP one really wasn't as relevant as we needed it to be anymore. So, any questions on the evaluation plan?
Any questions? Sounds pretty thorough to me.
Okay, thank you all.
So we would need a motion to approve that plan.
Motion.
So a motion by Keith and second by Parcell to approve the 2020-2021 certified evaluation plan. Is there any other discussion? And all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Next is a discussion about the increase in student fees for our Chromebook program.
And Casey's done a lot of work on that. She's done a lot
The
of work
technology class, very good.
on researching which schools have done this, kind of how other schools have gotten into this initially, what the fees are. Everybody looked at about 8 or 10 different schools who charge fees of everything from $75 to $0, and pretty much everything in between. But we kind of thought that as a group that there probably needed to be some type of fee associated with that, because there's going to be some breakage, there's going to be some loss. Screens, broken screens, which say about that's almost half of the cost of the machine is new chargers and that kind of thing. So we kind of went with the lower end of what we've seen examples of, and based on household income, would be $25, $15 over $0, and we would add that to the fees that we currently have in place for K through 8. It's $30, and the high school is $55. And of course, we'll work with anybody that needs kind of not just the kind of things they want with the carpet that fees. But we did think that would be very nice if we had some kind of a little bank if we could start out with to replace some of those different parts. And we're working with STLP at the high school to try to put together a group of really talented students who can help fix those things. And because we don't have a bunch of those, but we plan on being one-to-one 4 through 12. So that with that, there's going to be a lot of machines. We ordered 975 initially, and we have those are in district.
Yes, they are.
Paid for by the CARES money. How many back order?
About at this point, if I'm hearing for still together.
Excuse me. What's the cost on 213 a piece? 213 police, and that's without a case. We made the case. It was about a complex call. But I talked to John Saturday weekly. Most of their kids brought their own case, and they wanted to decorate it up and design it and that kind of thing. So they probably could be there for hours. So they could celebrate it.
I was wondering how much more they could take care of those conflicts with, if they actually had a case.
Yeah, I don't know. We've seen, we talked to people, it's 50-50 split as to who buys cases, who doesn't. In case you can speak to that, we probably talk to more schools in our.
A lot of the people I talked to about if they were in class, they were sticking on their little books and stuck their books on top of them. So the cases weren't really helping in that, in the late area. Only if they dropped them accidentally is the case really helping that much. If it was, accidentally closing a pencil with the lid and shattering the screen, the case wasn't going to help with that either. So a lot of the people we talked to decided to save the money on cases and just encourage students to purchase their own case.
It was about another $25,000 more than everybody else to get to our cases.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
And we have policies about backpacks and different things at different schools, because they differ school to school. But what about a sleeve, just a neoprene sleeve? Because you can order those from a lot of these secondary, imprinted places for like $5 a piece.
Right, you could do a sleeve. It wouldn't exactly flip the integrity of the screen, like a hard shell case would. But again, it would really only help for accidental drops. But it definitely is an option.
How much wear do they get per year before they say to them on what grade?
It really depends on the grade. Actually, we've had a really, really good look with all of our Chromebooks. Of all the Chromebooks, we've had about 2,000 in district already. We only had a surplus, a couple hundred of them because of the wear and tear on them. So our kids really do take better care of them then.
And those are mostly older ones, correct?
They were our very first version of Chromebooks that we had a surplus, and we had a couple hundred of them.
So that's how many?
About 6 years old. So and we haven't had cases on any of our Chromebooks. Now we do have the occasional breakage for a bus screen, something like that. That's going to happen no matter what. But we don't have a lot of accidental damage, or we haven't at this point.
So Todd actually raised a good question, and I don't recall doing this. We have all had a discussion about this one-to-one from 4th to 12th grade, but I don't know that we have actually passed a motion saying that we're doing that. So we probably should do that. And then the fees would be the secondary motion that goes behind it.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of doing tail wagging the dog. The big news is one-on-one. We're going to approve that 4th through 12th. And the secondary news is but the big news is one-on-one.
And in the news that preceded that allowed us to happen so quickly, and why we went ahead and made the order probably without consulting a whole lot of folks, was that we wanted to get our order in. And Casey was right, we got our order in probably
Right before they went out of stock.
a week or so before we went out of stock. And we were able to get 975 of them. Actually, Rhonda met me at the door the day the CARES money became available, and they made the order, y'all placed the order that day, if I'm not mistaken. So we probably would have been way down the line had we not done that. We're still going to be a couple hundred short, but and just so you would know, is that not everybody 412 is getting branded. We start with all that, so the younger kids will have one of our newer old ones, and our newer used ones, so to speak, which is a good start off with. But, and then hopefully we'll be able to, a long range plan is to allow or talk to our educational foundation and think about those school year costs. We're bringing about $125,000 a year to be able to sustain this and replace the ones that we're going to need to replace. And so if we can get some help from our education foundation, sets out some kids money and some budgets that for that we can sustain.
And for students who aren't seniors, unless for some reason the program comes out, so they turn theirs in at the end of the year, or they keep theirs for the next year.
Even the seniors will turn in.
I mean, the run stuff's really,
We plan everybody turning them in, they'll go through the machines, clean them up, make sure they're all working in the issue. If we get the issue now, they're all asset tags, so we can tell who's at what.
Trying to keep as many of the same models as possible for our customers. We try to bring
Gentlemen, when I was talking to Mr. Sullivan, this was their first year I believe their first year in but he said they were getting back well within behind 1% cost. That very few kids moved away or whatever. He said, so he was very pleased with the money he got back. So very simple district. So that's really the same kind of luck.
That is. So we need 2 motions, you said?
all you can do is one, a motion to approve one-on-one, for the 12, and the assessor increases to the figures.
All in one motion.
I think we'd be fine.
Right, I'll move the motion.
Okay.
Sure.
So a motion by Keith and second by Stephen to approve the one-to-one initiative for grades 4 through 12 with the accompanying increase in student fees. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor then please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. Number 3, go ahead.
Sir.
Number 3 is an opportunity that's came our way, and we've done a lot of research on this, and I've spoken to each one of you about it. You've had a chance to take a look at the site. We've had an anonymous donor who some local businessmen who had got a metal building that they want to donate to us. And this is metal building, and it was kind of new to me, thinking on building, how you would move that thing, the back part, put it back together. And some parts are still reusable. Most of them are reusable. But this is a 9,100 square foot building. It's 70 feet wide by 130 feet deep. And I won't tell you the business it was used for, but it was it's a very common sized building. It's got a sloping roof from front to back. The roof height is somewhere between, depending on where you're at, on the slope, 14, 16 feet high. And these particular gentlemen that approached me also had some insight into who could move the building for us. First reports for them, and they basically gave us a turnkey price for moving the building, setting it up, actually replacing the roof, because when you take the roof apart, that's the one part that doesn't move well. And that Keith had mentioned to me that he was concerned about the roof, and we talked about it. But with all that being said, our folks would then come in and finish it. As far as plumbing it, there's 4 new heating and air conditioning units. I say new, the whole building is 6 years old. So heating and air conditioning units come with it. We would probably, have a couple garage doors and things like that to get equipment in whatever we need to do. But the cost to pour the concrete slab, and I just got that money yesterday. The cost to pour the concrete slab and to assemble the building. And the ground down there is just like everything else. It's a little dicey in places. So they're going to put, I forget the term to use, but some special footers to be sure that it can hold the weight of the building. And also, if I read the plans right, I asked them about raising the roof a few inches on some concrete piles, because we wanted to get a little more height in there to do the things we want to do. And I did it the way I read the plans. That I think it's 19 inches for to raise it. They could raise it another 19 inches, so you probably about another 1.5 foot that may be. So you would have at the minimum about 15.5 feet, at the maximum up to about 17.5 feet, which will let us do a lot of activities in there. And once we get it up, and we can do many things with it, we've bandied about several ideas. Basically it's the Austin Birch Center light. We could do, and just throwing some ideas out. Archery's never had a permanent home. We moved in from field to post everywhere in our district. There's always need for it. There's always a line waiting to get in the Austin Birch Center, and it's going to be even more so when we get the turf in there. I did take the liberty of speaking with Cody Philpott. We don't have a softball coach right now, but I did speak with Cody Philpott and Colonel Farley, ROTC. Those two folks I thought would have a very vested interest. Colonel Farley, because where we plan on putting the building is behind the baseball outfield, which is right exactly in the middle of their obstacles. I did not want to disrupt what they do, so I took Colonel down there. He met me. So we do not use anything in the middle. As a matter of fact, we would welcome it because we could coincide and use it as well for maneuvers or getting out of the weather conditions, things like that. So he was very, very positive about that. And Cody said the same thing. And Cody said that, because the reason I talked to Cody was my thought, if you've been in the Aussie Birch Center, it's a 30-yard by 40-yard turf area, if I'm not mistaken. But we're losing about 10 yards of usable space on the turf because even when we have the batting nets, the hitting nets retracted. So if we could move those nets over into that building and they're part of that 9,100 square feet, that baseball and softball use that area, then we would be, it's like getting another 10 by 30 area, 300 square feet of turf for free. Cody said no problem with that. He said that's no problem. He said matter of fact, we could probably take them and put them up and leave them out all the time during our season. So which would be a good thing because now we're having them back and forth. And he said he also had kind of I thought pretty cool idea. He said, yes, I may want to pinch hit a kid in the fourth inning. He said, so I'm going to put a gate in my outfield fence, let him go out there in the third inning and start taking some swings. So you know, that's probably like we would make us. But with all of that, that's kind of a very long description of what we've got. I wanted you all to know two things: where it would be, and what the approximate district commitment would be monetarily to get this thing up and running. We're going to have to build a front facade, which would be blocked. We decorate that how we want to. We put it in there. Jim and I came to the number. It's probably going to be somewhere between, when we're all said and done, between $200,000 and $225,000. If you calculate that out, it's about $17.50 or $18 per square foot. Once we get it finished, which is no, it's hard, and we do have a need. We've got a lot of kids who wait in line to get into the Aussie Birch, and then we have kids who are there to use what they want to, and other groups who are just kind of pushed outside. I mean, I'm making sure this far I was ready for me to start tonight. Archery, soccer, baseball, softball, dance, cheer, ROTC, band, all of those folks are using it. If we turf the whole field and divide it up into a bunch of small rooms, just have it like a major area in there, and we mark off like we did in Aussie Birch in 5-yard increments. The band could use that commercial formation. ROTC could do the same thing with that. So a lot of uses for it. And you know, I know you probably with me, so what can we afford it? And that's kind of I talked to Ron about it. We can't afford it. We've been very fortunate, free with our money, as we already, look at it this way, that we can maybe spend some of the money that the proceeds that we make from the 2 houses that we sold to build something permanent. That money was taxpayer money for those. And I think a lot of people would love to see that transfer to something that kids can use for generations. So if we do that this way, we would have something that would last a while. And again, our folks would finish on the inside, which saves us a lot of money. We have one more bit of information. The cost of just the materials for the building, not including the concrete slab, not including the heating air conditioning units, not including what we're going to do on the inside, is about $112,000. So we're going to put another $50,000 with that and have a finished product. So if you extrapolate that out, about $3 or $3.25 is what it costs us to do this. And we're going to get for about 50 cents on the dollar.
Well, archery involves, last year I think was over 335 students. And they have no home. And we, like you said, we move a pillar post, and most of the time, if they're indoors, that's in one of our gyms. And they are horrible on gym floors. Those little arrows and gym floors do not mix well.
Once it starts, sometimes shoot 10 feet or 5 feet. And the guy, and I'll tell somebody else already, we had our new middle school gym where we had last year. The new middle school gym was where they ended up last year. And I'm sorry, year before last year, they were actually in the intermediate. But with that being said, it was a $2,500, $3,000 bill to go back in. And the guy asked me, said, what have you been doing on this floor? He said, there are little nicks of wood, hundreds of these things. He said, I had to go with my phone and fill these in and stand over top. I said, no, it's archery. He said, you're shooting archery. He said, that's beautiful. I said, that's a place to go. And I said, we've got 100 kids that in this building alone that shoot. So I think we can construct, and I was talking with Mr. Kennedy about that the other day, if we wanted to give archery a dedicated place in there when it's their turn to be in, we could make perhaps part of the area where they're shooting at just a concrete slab or some type of some type of covering that would not be destroyed, and then not let them shoot into the turf, obviously. We can manipulate that part of it, I think, to make it very usable for everyone. So,
It's still more complicated, you know, you can put, other squads and
Sure.
you know, it's creating more conflict.
oh, yeah.
So that shouldn't be a problem. I just think it's a good idea.
Yeah, you were telling me it's not a very long shot that they practice, 30 feet maybe or something.
It's not, it's not big.
It might be a heavy duty material that you can just roll out on top of turf, and that way turf as much as you can to block it, and you just roll out something, roll part of it, essentially.
I was thinking the same kind of thing like we roll out on the infield of baseball and softball.
Yeah, there's a number of things, and I agree with all of what you said. I think that we could protect it in such a way that our city had a place to be there for maybe within utilize as much of the area with turf as they can. And that was after we fixed it. There is a lot of kids, and I will say this, I don't know the percentages, I probably should, but let's say there's 100 kids, probably 80 of them don't participate in anything else that is their niche. We talk a lot, we give a lot of lip service to every kid needs a niche, every kid needs something from school for it. I watch them wearing their shirts around just like the other sports and athletes. I think that's really cool. So.
I think it's more different than our sources stuff. We do have to see it because not every child, they want every child to do it, and they have a lot to discuss.
I think Todd's point, when I talked to him about it, is a good one. As much as we can leave it open, that invites everybody. You can come in and we raise that. You'd be surprised raising that, almost 2 feet, foot and a half. That's going to make a big difference. You still have the steel barriers that will cost, but you can set those nets inside those 20. They're in 25-foot sections, so you can set those nets inside those sections and dimensions of that. But that was, I wanted y'all to have all the information and know that there is a, what I would consider substantial investment with that. But at the end of the day, it's
It's an investment.
I think it's 50 cents on the dollar.
The way it's worded here, I guess I'm fine with it, but does it need to say anything different? You're essentially saying accept the gift and the expenditure of money to fix the gift.
Yeah, that would be fine. And I wasn't really sure how to word that. I wanted, when I talked to KDE about it, they said that when we're taking something in of that value, we need to have the board approve it. And then when I told them what we were going to do, they said absolutely. They need to basically at least be aware that we're spending. That's why I wouldn't have done it. That's like that. I said that I didn't know that he would on the motion. Certainly, that would more than cover all, so we put on the motion, the cost and the seconds.
I'll make a motion to accept the gift of the metal building discussed on the donor and the expenditures that discussed.
So we have a motion by Todd and a second by Garcia. Is there any other discussion? And then a great big vote.
Thank you.
So all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
The last thing is the potential starting date for 2020, 2021. And we've been watching the commissioner broadcast every Tuesday, and it seems like there's a lot of good information that comes out. I'll give you a quick post version. We were asked to do 3 schedules, one beginning late July, one basically when we normally start, and one sometime later, probably after Labor Day, something like that. Well, the July date got taken off very, very early. And so now we're down to 2. We've already got Mark's already got our regular calendar through that's starting on August 19th. So he's prepared another calendar that begins September 8th, which I believe is the day after Labor Day. It's on Tuesday. So there are some perks to starting late, and we don't have to have any motions today. This is basically just an informational thing, and it would probably be it probably wouldn't be wise to even make a decision today because things are going to change probably by this time next week. I did want y'all to start thinking about it. We're probably in one of those 2 periods, and a lot of it's going to depend on whether we start social distancing, we start masks, we don't know that yet. But there are some perks to starting late. One of those is a perk like ADE, in that you can you get more flexibility. If you can do 7-hour days instead of 6 hours, we're doing about 6 hours and a half. You can do a 7-hour day, which extrapolates to 155-day schedule for students as opposed to 170. You might think, well, we're going to go less school now and this all that. If we get into an extended period of time where we're having to do PTI for multiple weeks again, which depending on which expert you listen to, that's a possibility. That did not help a lot of folks. It was tough doing it that way. It wasn't designed for that. So you would have that option to cut those days down if you chose to. You wouldn't have to, but you could if you chose to. The other thing is this: we had a principal meeting this week, and this is the second time it came up. We're in a nice place right now as far as getting this organized. But if we started on that later day, and I'm not asking you to approve that tonight, but if we started on that later day, that would give us the whole month of August to do some boot camps, some academic boot camps for some kids that maybe last year were struggling a bit when we left March 16th. Travis and I had a good conversation after a meeting, and Travis said, how do you teach a kid to read online? Yes. He said we could bring in the kindergarten kids that we knew that were struggling last year, and all of our new kindergarten kids that are signed up to begin kindergarten this year, divvy those up, and hopefully in groups of 10 or maybe 15 even by then, and give them a month head start and do really high intensity everyday power plant kids that we know are going to have trouble. So that later start date gives you time to do that as well. Again, just an informational item. We don't need any kind of notes or anything, but I want you all to think about that, because that's a decision that I know the calendars are conveyance of the board. That's a decision we'll have to make probably at the July meeting. And that's something to kind of think about. We'll be watching the news just like everybody else to see what they're asked. The one thing that's already changed, it's a major change, is they told us 2 weeks ago that social distancing would be enforced on buses as well. So we're talking about maybe 10 kids on a bus. By the time you social distance, they came back like a week later and said with masks, you can transport a full bus. And each students can sit shoulder to shoulder. So they can sit shoulder to shoulder on the bus with masks on, but they have to separate in the classroom. But so all these things may change. And I know they're all doing the very best they can. Everybody's scared in this new territory for everyone, but just want y'all to have a little heads up on that. As far as what we're going to be asked to do probably in July. We're also doing and Cindy and I started on yesterday from questions, doing a parent survey we'll send out. Get some training, but some of these things as well. So that's kind of where we're at.
The only other piece of that, Mr. Cox and I talked about this, that, and like you said, I don't know much more now than I did when we officially entered school, but I think it's not going to hurt to send another information thing out to parents when this survey is ready and say, we're giving you a survey to see, what you think, but there is no absolute right answer to this, and they have given each school district the ability to make their own decisions. And of course, what we do may look totally different than what somebody involved in Lexington does. But we need to everybody know that everybody is doing the best they can with what we're faced with.
And Julie was sending out the second survey, maybe even the parents' opinions have changed. So therefore, you will probably get more of today opinion based on what they think, news and things. So it's lose, doesn't matter what you do, Very good decision.
And I totally agree with the boot camps for kids that we know are struggling. We talk about perhaps we offer some things to everybody. We know we have kids who struggle with every grade, but we also know that if you can't read well, nothing else goes well.
There's certainly a lot of options there. What I do know is that more than likely at some point in time, virtual learning is going to be a part of what we do. Whether it's just this year or it continues forever, but we're going to be much better at virtual teaching than we were this year. Because we've got still another 2.5 months or so to work on that. Cindy and Ashley did a really good job of converting our professional development topics in the summer over to all online, and we're focusing primarily on teaching virtually. And we've got some, we're working, we've got a list of, if you remember, the non-negotiables that we used last year, as far as what we asked our teachers to do, and always stand by, and that went over very well with our teachers. A lot of them, we want to that have enough, but we come up with the same kind of thing in virtual teaching was a lot of questions. And then we try our best to make it easier on teachers, and it's going to be much better. And I want to ask Casey to explain this to you also, I can listen again. But with a device in every kid's hands from grades 4 through 12, the 15% or so that don't have connectivity with home. Tell us, Casey, about the hotspots in the parking lots and how exactly that would work.
Okay, so with the Chromebook, if they're at home and they don't have internet connection, they can still work offline. So if your teacher assigned them, assigned them Google Docs, Google Sheets, something like that, they can do that at home without internet connectivity. And as soon as they get to Wi-Fi, it will sync with their Google Drive, and their teachers will have access to it. But we can also offer putting our Wi-Fi closer in to the buildings, to the parking lots, so that they can drive into our parking lots, connect to Wi-Fi, and sync up if their latest work. Hotspots are an option. You can always send home hotspots. I think we've talked about that. It's costly. It's a monthly subscription to do that and everything. But we can definitely move our access points closer to parking lots, so students, can drive up to a parking lot and get their latest work. That is very easily done.
So conceivably, let's say that we're at multiple weeks. Let's say in January they said we're going to take 3 weeks off. A kid could take the first week home as they go on their phone drive.
They can take it on the flash drive if their teacher has it ready for them. If they have recordings ready for that long, we can send flash drives home for their Chromebooks. They can watch the videos and they can do their work on Google Docs. And then when they get to Wi-Fi, it'll sync up.
In week 2, they would get to these 15%, 10-15%, whatever the number we're looking at. They would then go to a hotspot. It would capture that work, and then they can also download the new work for week 2.
Or they can make arrangements to come in and get a new flash drive with the newest recordings from their teachers.
So theoretically, they wouldn't have to come in maybe just once a week to a hotspot, right? Or get the contract.
As long as they're prepared.
That's a big advantage that we have being an independent district on our small. Most of our folks, I think, can get there one time per week to let their kid upload or download what they've done or upload. And if it takes their paper sheet, you have over the year that you ended up trying to battle. So with that being said, I wanted to hear that. I explain that to folks, and every time I explain it, it seems like I get sidetracked a bit, but I do think that's huge. That's a game changer for us, just in the fact that those kids have a device.
It wouldn't take very much at all for us to just place some access points in the very front of the buildings, the very back of the buildings where there's parking lot space. And if we got into a situation where it was 3 weeks long, we could always talk about even putting a mobile router on the bus, sending the bus out to multiple places to park, something like that.
And just for people that, like me, who worry about what just going on, the students would log in with their individual students, and if in fact they go someplace they shouldn't go, or they're doing things outside of what our filters won't catch, that tracks right back. So we've got all that tracking software in place already.
If they're coming to our buildings and using our wireless in the parking lots, then they have to use their student account to get into the wireless, and it will track them. So we're still seeing.
So that's something that I don't think we understood enough about last year, at least from my view. I don't think we did, about the capabilities of these Chromebooks being able to download the assignments, and then you can work on the assignments from then on because they're embedded. Whether it's embedded on a thumb drive that you add to it, or embedded on the machine itself. So even those students who have no Wi-Fi or have iffy Wi-Fi can still do their work and come once a week to the school building, out in the parking lot, and upload to the teacher for free.
Or exchange a flash drive.
Educate me just a bit, because this is the question I've always had as well. I just ask now. There's no storage on that Chromebook, right?
There is storage, just very little storage.
Very little storage. So they would probably have them.
It depends on how, if you're talking weeks in time, yes, probably. And it also depends on how big your recordings are. If you've got, a week's worth of math lessons that are 30 minutes long, then probably.
If you've got a teacher doing a lesson, that's recorded, that film will take up like 40 class.
But we can even work with that in the thumb drive storage. We can get bigger thumb drives that'll hold more. So there's ways around all that.
And those are not expensive in micro.
They're not too bad. Definitely cheaper than putting a hotspot in every child.
Or cheaper.
You can go to town.
That's not something to see, it's pretty hard.
So they could jump on somebody else's Wi-Fi, we'll start working on their account, not together.
So we are not making any kind of decisions this evening for anyone who might be watching online. But wanted everyone to know that this is a constant thought in everyone's minds every day about what to do for this coming year. And I commend Mr. Cox and all the administrative staff and all the principals and the teachers because that's all we think of. And we see it.
Two things real quickly, if you don't mind, to that point right now.
Yeah.
The date of the next meeting is set, I think, for July 9th. That may be an issue for some folks. I didn't know if that's something that we want to look at changing, push it forward to the 16th, maybe. That was okay. We'll think about that for just a second. And the other thing, June is normally the month when we do our retirees, correct?
Yes.
And so we're obviously not doing that tonight.
Right.
So we'll kind of put that back and forth. We'll be doing that sometime in summer as soon as we get everybody together. That's about to give some places. And,
Well, at the end of this month, we can go to potential of 50,
nice.
although we can get to them once we get outside. So if we wait until July, then it would be able.
That's when we meet at the next board meeting, we can have it. And I would love for you all, and Todd and I talked about earlier, he mentioned that the gyms, in addition to having ceiling painted and new LED lighting in place, the floor is going to be finished. So we'll really be in perfect shape, pristine shape when we do have it tomorrow. We can meet down there if you like, and join us. We'll be more thanks.
And it'd be very easy to socially distance and get more people because it's a large space.
Comfortable seating, so forth. So I guess you all can decide what days you would like to move it.
I prefer that next week, maybe the third time.
And for you people that get vacation for days and hours.
If we do it that next week, would it be possible? Is it the 16th okay? But Thursday?
I'm for the
16th okay.
but I'm not for that.
You have a conflict all that week?
No, I'm just that.
Would you care about that?
That Tuesday was when I was supposed to be.
Okay.
Because what I thought was a night, so I said that next week was. But I can be back. I'll be there on the 16th. But it really doesn't.
When are you going to?
I can make it work.
You can do the 7th. When are you going?
You're not going that week.
I'll be gone the week of the 6th, but I don't have to be.
A week is.
Can we push it off until the 20th? Is that too late? That'd be
Maybe
Monday.
we said the week of 13. We said the other day.
What day's going to be on?
Thanks.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's exactly what I was
Over in the 21st. Is that
20th is a Monday.
21st is Tuesday.
21st?
Either of those.
I'll be on either one of those.
If we wait till that week, to be honest with you, we'll probably,
No,
as close as we're going to be, is to know something.
that's good idea. 2021 is great for me, but
21st.
Tuesdays are better than Mondays.
That's all right.
sure, that's fine.
So if you don't care to double check with Mr. Crawford, then Tuesday, 21st, at 6.
Thank you.
So, are there any other comments from the superintendent? Are there any comments from board members?
Just want to technology out that, you know, class with the students involved with
The SDLC. It says we keep the
If we're going to have something, something tangible to do.
Oh, well, that's it, and also in their time, things like, well, I'm the job, you know.
And I think that August also is huge, if we start the Labor Day with, giving them the option, and I think that's a big point, right?
And I think Kim made a good point there too. I hadn't thought about it until just now. We were thinking in terms of the kids that were right behind on the 16th. Everybody's big. So we can do some things for the kids that didn't actually leave behind, but we know if they had a major summer slide, we could do some virtual stuff for them during that time and talk to 150 times for the same basic lessons. If you wanted to do a 8th grade exit exam, kind of, for example, with every 8th grader except for the ones who struggle. So we could really test every kid during that time. The ones who were a little more, they could possibly do the first and the other through the university.
Well, and especially kids at transition years, so, your 5th graders come to 6th grade middle school, and so they didn't get all of that, come to the middle school, see what it looks like kind of stuff, you know. You can do a virtual, this is what the school building looks like. I mean, there's lots of things we could do in that time to get everybody geared up to be back to school, ready to get it, because we're gonna ask for the same time a little longer today. And it's gonna look different, but closer to the same as it can be. So I think it would be good for everybody.
We could kind of parallel our 7th grade mid-ball. We kind of have different tracks for different groups of students. Some might want just a running ball, even though they feel comfortable. And I want to make sure others may want to put more ball. So we have different tracks for different students.
That's a good idea. I think there'll be a lot of parent support for that. I think there'll be a lot of parents that want kids involved. Traditionally, summer school's tough to get kids to come to, and you know, I think this is obviously a different time, so I think there'll be a lot of participation.
Some primary, and some classes are going to go talk to parents who are, you know, making sure everything's hard. Basically.
Lots to think about, lots to work on, but they obviously are. We do have needed executive sessions because June is the month in which we do the summative evaluation of the superintendent. We do not, we do all of this in executive session because that's required that we do it that way. The results from that will be next month's meeting. There will be a summary document that will be put on the website as required by law. So there is nothing else in the rest of this meeting for the public to see, unless someone had a question raised. We will not be adjourning because we do not do that until after the executive session, but the public meeting will now be open. Do you have any questions, Casey? No, I think not. So we want to thank everyone who was able to join us, and we will see you next month. No, we're not. So.
Mm-hmm.